We are currently in the middle of the summer, and on my French channel I wanted to make some lighter videos to accompany you during this period, and so I thought, why just keep those videos for the French audience? And so today I'm gonna offer you my personal top 5 favorite motorcycles at CF Moto, which is probably the biggest brand everyone's talking about as of now. The Chinese manufacturer is absolutely on all lips, and we are of course waiting for EICMA 2026 for many very exciting news. But today I'm gonna give you what I think are the 5 best motorcycles at CF Moto. We're talking only about machines that are currently sold by the manufacturer, not old bikes, even if in the case of this specific brand, we're not that much worried because they are not that old. So I want to make something very clear right from the go, because there is one machine I never had the opportunity to review up until now. It is the 1000 MTX, which is the biggest adventure bike that CF Moto has to offer right now. It is a direct rival for the Africa Twin, let's say, or other machines in the same category, and I never had up until now the opportunity to try this bike. I know that it is very different. Even the engine is not the same engines they are using as of now. It is probably derived from the 990 Duke. So I won't put this machine inside the top 5, but it is very likely that it would have been able to enter the 5 best positions, because it seems to be a very successful bike. But once we've said that, it is now time to talk about the 5th place in this ranking, and this machine is at the same time completely legitimate to be on the 5th place, but at the same time it could have been so much higher, because already we have a very impressive machine. I just would say that all the others are, in my opinion, even higher. But we're gonna start with the 5th place and talk about the 800 MT, the mid-size adventure bike from CF Moto, which is so versatile, and it is super interesting because we have now a new version on this machine, the ES version of the 800 MT, which is nothing less than a semi-active suspension version of the 800 MT. Super interesting, and so let's discuss the bike. First of all, we have a very nice look on this machine. Really, even the colors that have been chosen those last years by CF Moto are super cool. We have the Glacier White, we have the blue Neptune, which is super cool. We have 91 horsepower on this machine. It is the same engine as you can find on the 800 NK, slightly different to have maybe a bit more torque in the low range, and the machine has so many things for it. First of all, we have this engine, which is super cool. On the ES version, we have adjustable electronic suspensions, which is a nice addition. It is 600 euros more expensive than the Explore version, which was up until now the most complete version of the 800 MT, which is not that much of a stretch, 600 euros to have semi-active suspensions. We have 6 driving modes. We have Sport, Rain, Off-Road, Off-Road Plus, All-Terrain, and All-Terrain Plus. All of those are integrated directly into the machine. We have the gigantic 8 inches MMI touchscreen, which is completely amazing. We will have the occasion to discuss it a bit later on other machines. We have a bidirectional quick shifter. We have switchable cornering, ABS, integrated crash bars. You don't have to pay for them. Steering damper. So many things on this 800 MT. It is a very good motorcycle, and when I had the opportunity to review it, was the Explorer version, I was completely baffled by the value of the bike, which is 9,999 euros in France for the Explorer version, and there is absolutely no competition at this level, guys. In terms of price, of bang for buck ratio, this machine is really super impressive. But now we're gonna hop to the 4th place, and you'll see that it is something that is not that common for me to place higher a machine that is lower in terms of displacement. And in the same category, we're gonna talk about an adventure bike, but it is simply because This machine, when it was announced, when it was released, when we've seen the first press reviews, was an unanimous success for everyone, be it the press, be it the users. We're gonna talk about the 450MT, the small size adventure bike from CF Moto, and this machine is a complete success for the Chinese manufacturer. There is absolutely no other way to put it than saying that the 450MT is really an incredible machine. First of all, there's the price, because we are under 6,000 euros for this 450cc displacement machine with a very, very nice engine. We have an inline twin cylinder engine that is 42 HP and with a very, very nice behavior and personality. It is a much more aggressive bike, I would say, than the 450GS that I had the opportunity to review, and you have the review on the channel, even in English. And compared to 500K LE from Kawasaki, it has more personality, more oomph to it, you know. So we have 44 Newton meters at 6,250 RPM. We have very nice suspension elements with a Kayaba fork, which is very, very cool. Absorbs so well every bump on the road, very adapted and suited for off-road riding. We have an ABS from Bosch, which is switchable. You have a traction control. You have many standard off-road equipment that you don't have to buy additionally to the machine. You have mud guards, end guards, retractable mirrors, engine guard, off-road foot pegs, so many things. You have a very, very nice 5 inches TFT screen. It's also super cool. The looks of the bike are super nice, be it the black Nebula color or the Zephyr blue color, which is also amazing. And this 450MT is at 5,999 euros. The competition is very, very arduous on this category because there are many machines appearing, be it the 450GS from BMW, the 500K LE. You also have QJ Motor, with their 450. I think it's the SRT. The name is the SRT. So it is a very competitive segment, but the CF Moto 450 is really pulling its head ahead of the pack. And for my personal dealership partner that I have here in France to review CF Moto machines, even before the bike arrived on the dealership, on the shop, and people were able to, see it physically, they already had more than 50 pre-orders for the bike. That just gives you an idea how much of a success this machine was in France, and I must guess in other countries. Tell me, no matter what country you are from, if the 450MT is a very demanded bike in your country, but I really do think that it is the case in many territories. Now we're gonna hop to the top 3, and we're gonna keep in the low displacement machines, those small motorcycles but that have many things to show us. And I really do think that this bike was one that made me realize what CF Moto was capable of. I would say it wasn't the first CF Moto that I reviewed, maybe the third or fourth, but when I saw this machine, I really thought they are not just capable to stick to that specific CC displacement category. They can go up, they can go down with the same level of quality. We're gonna talk about the 450SR, the small sports bike from the Chinese brand, which is also a super cool machine and very often in my heart in competition with some other machines for the title of most beautiful A2 motorcycle. The 450SR is really a small jewel. It's really a very nice motorcycle. First of all, we have this look, which is amazing. Once again, the colors are super cool, black or white with the touches of red, gray. The bike is super cool. We have the same twin-cylinder engine as the 450 MT, but you can see that the values are not exactly the same. 47.5 HP to be compliant with the A2 driver's license regulation, and so many things going for the bike. Once again, many features. The engine gives a different value than the 450 MT. As you can see, the 39 Newton meters are reached at 7,600 RPM, so it's a more sporty type of engine. And you have traction control, Brembo brakes on a 450cc displacement bike. We have here one, because that's enough, but one radially mounted 4-piston Brembo caliper, which is like unheard of on this category. So small machines, we have this kind of braking system. It is completely amazing. The aerodynamics of the machines have been worked in a wind tunnel to really give it, I would say, the most aerodynamic behavior. But on a small bike like this, it's not the most important, but that gives a bit of insight of idea in terms of the detail that CF Moto went to, the extent of detail they went to care about this bike. We have a TFT screen, which is super cool. And once again, in France, the bike is under 6,000 euros. It is incredible. There aren't that many bikes in this category. I would say the small sports bikes, but that aren't, you know, real track machines, but in a smaller version. I'm talking about the ZX4R from Kawasaki, which is much higher in terms of performance. It is a 80 HP machine, but with a very different price point, much higher. It is almost 10,000 euros. So it's not exactly the same thing. That category of, I would say, road-friendly, small CC sports bikes, there aren't many machines in this category, and the 450 SR is definitely one of the best in this domain. Now, we're gonna go to the second place, and this one is super important because the story of CF Moto was such as they started with partnerships with brands to borrow their engines. First of all, with Kawasaki, if you aren't aware, but before they worked with KTM, they worked with Kawasaki for the first machines they released, like the 700 machines. They had Kawasaki engines inside of them. Then there was the big partnership with KTM, where they started to, you know, use the LC8C engine from the 790 Duke for the 800 MT, the 800 NK, etc. And the partnership goes on even today, because CF Moto produces many engines, and even KTM bikes for the Chinese market, like the 1390 Super Duke machines for China are made in the factories of CF Moto. So it is a really big partnership. But one day they decided to show that they were able to, you know, go even further, and they presented their very first, I would say, proprietary engine. And I would say the case in which they put it was this bike we're gonna talk about. Of course, we're going to talk about the 675 SRR. And this machine, this sports bike from CF Moto, is super important in the history of the manufacturer, because it really represents another step in the evolution of CF Moto. We have here a bike that they made almost entirely in-house. It is a really complete CF Moto machines. We have, of course, some parts that come from Brembo or other manufacturers, but everyone does that. But in terms of engine, of design of the bike, the 675 SRR is a pure CF Moto machine. Once again, with the same kind of design you can find on the 450 SR, sorry, not the MT. Very aggressive, very sleek looking. All the colors are super nice. Blue, black, white, all are super nice. We have 89 HP, and I know that this value depends on the countries. If you don't have such pollution norms, such restrictive pollution norms as we have in Europe. You may have higher values than that on your market, so feel free to tell about it in the comments. And so once again, many things going for the 675. The engine is very nice. It's one of the rare inline 4-cylinder engines in this category. You have the Trident 660 from Triumph, but it's the only two that you can find. You have a shifter which is only up because this machine doesn't have ride-by-wire. It was to make the bike a bit less expensive, but that still is very nice. You have ABS, traction control. The ergonomics of the bike are not too radical. I would say that they are a bit more radical than an Aprilia RS 660 because the bike is more track-oriented, I would say, but it is not that unbearable unless you are only riding inside the city, but it is kind of a cool bike. And you also have this nice 5-inch TFT screen, which has many things like the navigation projection. You can connect your smartphone. There are many things on the bike. The only thing I would say that is a bit of a letdown, but I hope that since my review they've changed that, was the fact that when I tried the 675 SRR, I realized that during riding you could change the menus. You could enter the menus, to adjust the traction control and other things. And while you were doing that, you didn't have the speed and the gears anymore displayed on the screen. And I'm not talking about being stopped. I'm talking about being riding the machine like the machine was in movement. And in Europe, that's something that is illegal. It is forbidden. So I hope it was like something they forgot to put on the bike, and that since then it isn't possible anymore to adjust the menus while you are riding, or at least you have the informations that are displayed. But still, the 675 SRR remains an extraordinary bike for 7,900 euros. It is once again a completely crazy bang for buck ratio, and so it deserves perfectly its second place. And now we're gonna talk about the very first one, which could be this machine. Well, if you know me, if you know my preferences, it won't come as a surprise. This bike is for me maybe one of the three, maybe two best A2 riders license motorcycles you can buy. In its specific category, it is by far the best. There isn't absolutely no discussion whatsoever here. And it was the very first CF Moto that I reviewed, and up until now, nothing has changed in my heart. It is still the very best. We're gonna talk about the 800 NK, the entry-level mid-size naked bike from CF Moto, which is a jewel. This bike is a diamond in the rough. It is really a motorcycle that you have to try once in your life. If you've never done it, if you have a CF Moto dealership close to you, please, by all means, do yourself a favor and go try a 800 NK, because this motorcycle is fantastic. First of all, there is the looks of the machine, which are very specific. Some people love, others hate, but that's usually the kind of machines that I like the most, when there isn't too much of a consensual line, but really something that is very defined, very different, I would say. The positioning of the exhaust, the front headlamp is super cool. You have those touches that make you think like it's a bit like carbon fiber. It's not carbon fiber, but that gives the bike a real nice feel. You have 95 horsepower. It is the same engine as the 800 MT, but here we have the full values. It is the same engine as the 790 Duke. It is the LC8C, and the behavior of the bike is insane. And you have so many things. You have the 8-inch touchscreen MMI interface. So we are talking here about the advanced TC bike. So it is the most complete one, the one which has most things, and that screen is incredible. It is wireless. You can have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto without any wire. That's something that appeared on big brand motorcycles like last year or something like that. And so many things on the machine. Like the 800NK is completely crazy. You have the 3 driving modes, you have traction control, anti-wheeling, you have a cruise control. Nothing on those things is additional, by the way. You have everything stock on the bike. You don't have to add any kind of price on it. You have J-Run braking, which is a bit a shame. I would love for them to make another version with Brembo brakes to be even higher, but they do a very, very nice work. You have, so this screen, this 8 inches MMI touchscreen is incredible. The bike has keyless riding. You don't have to put the key. There are so many things inside this machine, man. Quick shifter up and down, steering damper, and for the price, because this bike is under 8,000 euros. It is the same price as a GSX 8S from Suzuki, which is a very nice motorcycle. I love the GSX 8S, but in terms of equipment, in terms of engine behavior, personality, there isn't absolutely no comparison. The 800NK is the absolute queen of the mid-size entry-level naked bikes, and I will keep that opinion for a very long time. And of course, this top is over with this machine, but it's probably gonna be temporary, because in a few weeks, months, we're probably gonna have very, very nice news from CF Moto, and we are all expecting the commercial release and announcement of the V4SR RR, which will be a completely other level of hype, because we're talking about a 212 horsepower V4 sports bike from CF Moto, from a Chinese brand, a machine that already reached 315 kilometers on a track. It is amazing that they've been able to reach those kind of speeds. You don't realize the difference there is between being just able to, you know, pass the 300 kilometers threshold, which is 186 miles per hour. So you have an idea. And going from that to 315, it's another world altogether. And you need to have a level of aerodynamics, of engineering on your machine that is completely crazy. This bike is going to be so much fun, and I am super excited for its announcement. There will be many things on this machine that are super interesting. You're gonna have semi-active suspensions, Brembo I-Pure brakes. You're gonna have dynamic, dynamic aerodynamics. I don't have any kind of other words for that. So the winglets of the bike are going to be able to, you know, automatically adjust themselves depending on the conditions where you are. Like a Pagani Huayra, if you have the reference for the car, which has those winglets on the back that can change in depending on the pressure of the wind. That's something that they're going to put on this machine. The V4SR RR is going to be a new era for Chinese brands in terms of motorcycling, and I do believe that once this machine is released and once its price is known, because the V4SR RR is probably gonna follow the same type of philosophy than CF Moto has always been known for, meaning that the price is going to be very low. There are many people that are going to start to ask themselves some questions. So it's going to be super interesting, guys and girls. And if you liked this ranking, please subscribe to the channel. It is the best support that you can send me, the best strength that you can send me. I will see you very soon for more content. In the meantime, stay safe, enjoy riding. See you.